Welcome to ZOOMERTIMES TV. And here's your host, Anita Finley.
Hello, everybody. Well, I will tell you this. I don't like to date our ZOOMERTIMES TV, but I'm going to. It's Christmas Eve, and we have Mr. Santa. He's not really Mr. Santa, but he is so nice, and he's Greg Brown, and Greg Brown is the owner of a lovely, lovely home health care place. It's called Home Helpers, making life easy. And I really mean that. And I have to tell you, Greg, I welcome you to the show. And I'm so glad that you're in this business because you truly are a very, very friendly, nice person. And that's what it takes.
Thank you, Anita. And thank you for doing this interview and spending time on Christmas Eve with me. That's very nice of you. And I appreciate it more than you know. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome, Greg. It's my pleasure. And that's a good way to start this. So Christmas Eve for people can be very lonesome. And what you provide, let's talk about what the home helper does. I mean, you tell us because it's your business and it's not what, is that you, your dog?
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. I have a dog too. I keep him out of the room sometimes. I don't care. It makes you more friendly.
I should keep them out of the room and they need to stay out of the room during this interview. They just heard something.
Doesn't matter.
And
You can put him in your arms.
So go ahead.
Okay. So I was just saying that when people are, they don't really know what home care is. They think maybe it's a lot more now. You don't bring in nurses. So explain what your company does as compared and why it's so important.
That's a good point. And that's something that I think everybody needs to understand, the different types of care, the skilled care versus the companion care. My caregivers are certified caregivers. They are HHA, which is a home health care aide, or CNA, which is certified nursing aide, in order to work for Home Helpers of Broward County. And also they have a level 2 background check done. And that's very important because the level 2 background check is a check that ACA does, which regulates our industry to make sure that that person is the person they say they are, they have no criminal record, and that they are of, good people, good standing to take care of our elderly people. The one thing that I look at when I interview caregivers and I look at somebody who's going to take care of somebody, I look at, would that be my mother? And would I want that person taking care of my mother or my father? And do I trust them to be in my home with the things that my parents or your parents cherish and not harm them or my parent? So that's very important.
Good point.
That's very important to me. So I make sure that everybody's vetted, that they're educated, they're compassionate, and they have understanding and being able to help the elderly. I've got a couple of cases right now where the clients are very difficult. And the caregiver calls me up, and I'll give you an example. One was 2 days ago. The caregiver called me up. She said, they won't let me in the house, and it's 6:45 and it's freezing out. And so I called the client. The client said, listen, I asked her to come in at 7. I want her here at 7. She's here early. She's here early because she wants to take care of her and help her. And she was afraid of the traffic. So just go sit in the car. But then I had explained to the caregiver, and the caregiver understands this woman has arthritis very bad. She can barely walk. Every second and every step of her day, she's in pain. So we have to do things that are going to make her day better, make her day easier for her, and make her smile and make her happy. That's what we're really here for, and that's my belief.
Well, let me then go back at what you just said. So when someone calls you because they need someone, you then go and find out all these things, right? You know what's happening there.
Yeah, and I do something unique and different, and I didn't think it was, but my clients are telling me that it is that I come out and do the assessment, and then after the assessment is done, and I understand the quality of care, the level of care, what is needed, I bring the caregiver into the home and do the interview. And there's a reason for that. I want to make sure there's a match between the caregiver and the client and the caregiver, so that they can work well together. They have a synergy together, and they're going to take care of each other because it is a two-way street. But I mean, make sure that everybody's happy and they're going to get along. If they're not, I'm going to bring somebody else in. And sometimes you don't have, you have people that just don't get along. So you have to bring in somebody else. Not everybody gets along with everybody.
Especially when they don't feel well too. So
Right.
you first open the door though, and you know who they are, and they can always call you if they have a problem.
They have my cell number and they call me at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the evening. They call me out 24/7. And I welcome that because I want to hear from my clients and I want to know what's going on. And I want to be there to help them.
Yeah, I found that out about you. The first time I talked with you, I noticed that you had a very sweet way about you. And, not all men get into this business. I must say, most of the people I know are women. So what made you do this, Greg? Greg Brown is the owner.
A couple of reasons, and I've heard that before. I moved down here from Chicago. I always had a home down here, and so I would come down and visit. But when the pandemic hit, and I've been in healthcare my whole life, the company that I worked for said, we're going to let most of our staff go until this is over. It was a new startup company. And so I said, okay, what do I want to do now? I can retire, or I can go look for another job, or I can start a company. I said, what do I want to do? I thought hard about it. I thought, I'm going to go down to my home in Florida, and I'm going to help the elderly people where it's a warm climate and sunny, and provide home care services to them. And so I researched it and started, what do I want to do? Do I want to do skilled care or do I want to do companion care? And I decided to choose the companion care.
And let me give you, if everyone's listening, let me give a phone number here.
Okay.
I have a dog too, so I appreciate
I just
it.
closed the
And that way it
door.
makes you more real. And I'll bet some of your clients have dogs too. And that's important for the person you send to know how to take care of their dog too, because they probably have to walk them also.
They do.
So
They
let me
take
just
care of the dog, they take care of the home, whatever the client needs, we're there to provide services to make their life easier and better.
All right, this is the phone number, 773-203-9811. And that's Greg's personal cell phone. That's what you want to call, because he will be available for you. Again, it's 773-203-9811. And the name of the company is
It's seven. Hold on, let me repeat that. 773-203-8911. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that what I said?
Yeah, I think so. 8911.
Right, 8911. That's right. So it's 773-203-8911, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how about when we were talking when we first got on, that it's very important that people also treat the caregivers well, because then it's like bringing a friend. And one thing, I'll just back up on this. A lot of people they say to their kids who want to have someone, I don't need anyone here. I don't need anyone taking care of me. But if they think about, would they let their friend come in and take care? Well, maybe it's a companion care, let's say. You want someone to come in, they can drive you, they can go to the movies, they can, help you make your meals. You'd like that. So you need to then think about this. If you're the one that's either paying for it or your family's paying for it, be more relaxed. Allow the person who comes there to also feel good, because a lot of these people don't have families themselves, right, Greg? And that you become a family.
That's right. We want to become an extended part of the family. We want to be the caregiver and the client to work well together, to be part of the family, to go out and do shopping, to laugh. And I believe, and I tell my caregivers, make the client laugh with the client. Laughing heals a lot. It makes people feel better.
Yeah, that's true. So go ahead and tell everybody again, what are all the good things that people will do when they come in as we call it companion care, home health care. Why don't you tell people what they can expect?
They can expect whatever need that client has or that your parent has. Our caregivers will take care of. I even have a caregiver that's putting in water and changing the bird bath every day. because the client
I love this.
likes to watch the birds. So we make sure her bird bath is clean and fresh water with fresh water so that when she is sitting in her sunroom, she can see the birds come in and they're there to help. Or they're there, she's there to watch that and enjoy that because that makes her happy.
Greg, that's fabulous. I've never heard this story before.
So we'll help that client in whatever that client needs to make their life better, for whatever they need. I mean, even if it's taking out the garbage to the street and bringing the cans back, something that simple. And one of my clients, my last caregiver wouldn't do that for me. She wouldn't go out and bring the garbage cans back in. I had to call a neighbor to do it. Well, there's a simple rule to live by. If you see something that needs to be done, just do it. Help somebody out, make their life better.
So this is how you train the people who you hire to come in. I can hear
This
it
is
now.
the training, and this is the expectation that I have of my employees. Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of like what you started out. You did this, if this were your father or your mother, what would you do for them? This isn't just a job, it's a caring. And I love this about you. Caring is everything. And you hear the words, oh, it's a caregiver, it's a home health caregiver. Well, is it really? Some people, they maybe have very strict rules. I will do this, I won't do that, but that's not what you would tell your mother or father.
No, it's got to be more than a paycheck to somebody. It has to be something deep inside of them, like it is with me when I started this agency to help the elderly out. And it could be more than elderly. It could be a disabled child too, or a disabled adult that needs help.
Good point. There are people there. I do know someone who has a sister who's now, I guess, in her 40s, and she's been taking care of this person, and she works. So this person is, very responsible, and she does have a caregiver that comes in, certain times to help her. Because you're right, it isn't just an older adult. So many other people need this. We know there are people in wheelchairs. Or I was thinking a friend of mine just had some surgery, and she can't. So it's a choice. Now I hope people won't be mad at me of the rehab centers, but if I had a choice and I could go home with a caregiver rather than go to a rehab center, I'd rather do that. Am I being bad saying that?
No, and most people do feel that way. They want to recover in their home. And I work with a lot of rehab centers that when the patient is discharged, that they will call me and say, do you have a caregiver that come in for a couple of days a week for just a couple of hours? And I'll say, sure, because I don't put minimums on my care where it has to be 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, because not everybody needs that. It needs to be compassionate and say, maybe you need 2 hours. So I have a couple of caregivers that just go from home to home to home, give two hours of care a day, or 2 hours a week to somebody that really needs it.
I'm glad you brought that up. So talk about that. Do you have a minimum time when someone calls you and you tell them what it is? How many hours a day can they have?
They can have as low as 2 hours a day, a couple days a week, if that's all that they really need, to have somebody come in and help them.
That's
So
excellent.
I don't have a minimum 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, or 6 days a week, because not everybody needs that. So let's provide the care that they need and give them the time that they need. Or nor can everybody afford that either. Maybe they could just afford this. So let's do that for them.
Now, how about live-in? Would you provide someone to be there all the time?
I do have people that do live-ins or just people that do overnights. I just signed up another client that the caregiver needs to be overnight because the client might need to get out of bed or need the diaper change. So we do have people that just want overnights.
I was thinking about this. I once met a man who was taking care of his mother and he had a job. So during the day, he went and took his mother to a daycare center where they had games. But at night, and he was tired, he came home and he couldn't do all that. He had someone just come in at night and take care of his mother, even though she may have sat and watched TV, but at least she was there, as you said, maybe to take her to the bathroom, because That's where we know people fall. If they're on their own, and that's so interesting. So many people think it's just the daytime, but when they get out of bed is when they fall.
Right. And I have a couple of clients that we work with that they just need help with showering and toiletry in the morning, so that because they don't have they have typical old-fashioned bathtubs and they haven't remodeled their home for a walk-in shower. So we just help them in and out of the shower so that they don't fall, and that they're not laying there, and that they make sure that they're washing themselves, cleaning themselves, lotioning themselves, and then we'll go on to the next client. So
Yep.
there's a lot of different needs for every individual.
My guest is Greg Brown, and his phone number is 773-203-8911. Again, it's 773-203-8911, and it's Home Helpers, and is Home Helpers Home Care, right? Is that how
That
we?
is correct. Of Broward County in Florida.
Right, Broward County and Miami-Dade, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's good. And so let's just talk. I know in your advertising, it's called Care and Compassion, 24-hour monitoring, wellness calls, nutrition and well-being. Why don't you explain some of the wellness calls? What is that?
That's a technology that we've installed where we can put a device in the home, and it's pretty powerful. And we can call somebody and say, hey, did you take your medications? Did you eat? Do you need help with anything? Because if they need help, they'll call the office, and we'll send somebody out. Or if they just need to talk to somebody. Hey, I've had a bad day, I'm in a lot of pain. My Jeopardy's not on today, or Wheel of Fortune, whatever it was. And I, just need to have somebody to talk to. That device will allow them to have that individual just have a conversation with them. And it could be 2 hours. I've had people talk to somebody for 2 hours.
Telling them their life story.
Telling them their life story, or how their day went, or just having a conversation. Listen, we're all human. We all need to have interaction with each other. And the past 2 years have been very tough. So we've implemented some technology that's given the client that doesn't need 24-hour care or even 4-hour-a-day care, but still wants to talk to somebody.
Okay, let's talk about nutrition also, because it is the food that really makes a difference in people's pleasure. I know you can't send someone in from a different country to someone who doesn't like that food. So do you deal with that when you hire someone?
We do deal with that, but we also have a meal plan where we can send meals out every 3 or 4 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they select the plan that they want. And it's better than a lean cuisine. I shouldn't use that term, but some frozen dinner that they're putting Swanson or whatever it is in their freezer. We'll customize the meals for them, whatever they want. We'll deliver them to the home, put them in the freezer. If they want, they can then prepare them themselves, or the caregiver can prepare the meals for them. But they have a lot of options on a lot of different meals, so they're not eating the same thing. It's all fresh food. It's all been it's prepared in the South Florida area, and it's all delivered to them. That's fresh.
Well, will your caregivers also shop, for instance, at the grocery store and then come back and make some of the food?
They will. They'll be happy to do the shopping on their own, or to take the client. It's kind of funny. Even some of the men we take care of, there's a veteran that I take care of in Fort Lauderdale, and this guy loves to go to the grocery store. The caregiver takes him to the grocery store 2 times a week, and he spends hours shopping. And then bring the groceries home and put them away and help them do some cooking. But it's a nice outing for people.
Yes, that's right. It's remembering how it was. And let's go back to the vets. That's very important, veterans. So you are able to handle veterans.
That is correct. I am pre-approved for the veterans, so we can do the billing and do the assessment. But I also can work with them to help them get more reimbursement and a higher level of reimbursement, depending on how they served. My agency is very versed in that, and then provide the care so that the VA can pay for it. Because it's very
Oh,
frustrating for a veteran
yeah.
to go through that
That's
process on their own.
That's very important for you to tell us about this. So if someone's a veteran, you might be able to help them to get some different kind of care and maybe not as much money, or how does that work?
Well, there's a process that we can go through, and if they've served in war, they're entitled to a higher level of care, and it could be the Korean War, it could be World War II, it could be the Vietnam War, whatever it is. But they had to serve one day, and then we can help them receive a higher level of care and a higher level of reimbursement, so that there's less out-of-pocket expense on their end.
That's excellent that you have that ability. Yes, I think that this whole thing with veterans has come up lately, and I'm glad that you went and did all that to be able to take care of it, because it's always paperwork, and that's something somebody should realize.
Right, and we help the veteran with that. As a matter of fact, we'll do everything for them so that we take away that pressure and that confusion, or we can sit down with them and go through it together and say, you need this document, this document, this document, depending on how the client wants us to handle it.
Greg Brown, that was a very good point. You know, one thing I always remember when I went to visit elder people, their dining room tables were loaded with papers. In fact, even mine is starting to get that way. It takes a very conscientious thing to move the stuff off the dining room table, right?
Right, dining room tables is more for eating. It's also a filing cabinet.
Right. Sometimes people take their newspapers and their newspapers and their newspapers, and they don't throw them away because they're going to read them one day. And
Right.
sometimes I've seen stacks of newspapers on the table, right?
That's correct. Or today, with a lot of the elderly, we're helping them with their iPads, showing them how to read on the internet, how to get their news on the internet, or how to use technology so that they're more connected with the world today.
Oh, will you do that? That's something we didn't talk about. So in
We
other
will
words,
do
if
that.
someone has problems with the internet, you'll go there and you'll help them with that?
We'll help them with that, right? We'll help them. We had a client that we made the call. We had Comcast come out. We stayed there. The gentleman liked to read his Wall Street Journal online, but everything went down, and he was very frustrated. So we just took the process and took care of it for him, and he's very, very happy.
Greg, you really are a son. I mean, I know that we started out telling, why are you doing this? See, I don't think that, and I haven't interviewed other people like I've interviewed you so much. I mean, we've talked about what happens in the home, but you really have unique situations there, which I think people would be very well served to call you. And even if they don't know what they need, to call you to say, well, what can I do? My mother or my father has this problem, or I have this problem, and what can you do to help me?
Well, that's what we're here for.
That's right. So here we are. This is Greg Brown in living color. And it's Christmas Eve here. And the phone number to call him, it's his cell phone. And you can feel free to call him because he wants to help you and he's always on. And if you have to call back, it's because he's on with another person. His phone number again, write this down, put it on your refrigerator, put it somewhere important. It's 773-203-8911. I hope you get that. If not, get in touch with us at Boomer Times and we'll help you with that. So Greg, I'm sure that the holiday time is very stressful for a lot of people and your caregivers too. Do you have trouble getting caregivers at this time?
I haven't had a lot of problems getting caregivers. I'm do work with a lot of different vehicles to get caregivers, but I do have caregivers available, and I can always find the right caregiver for the right client. So that hasn't been a problem. I know that right now with the holidays coming on, we're seeing a lot of family members coming down, seeing their parents, seeing that they need help, and I'm getting some calls now from children. So let's have that conversation. Let's find out what's going on. And even if you need a couple of days a week, 4 hours a day, that's perfectly fine.
One thing you told me when I don't know if it was, no, one day I was talking with you and you said, if someone doesn't show up, and this can happen, they had an accident, something happened, you run over there and you take care of it. I mean, that's really beautiful that you become the caregiver until you can get another one.
I will do that. and I have the time and the ability to do it right now. But it's when somebody comes in and takes care of somebody, they get so attached to that caregiver, they get attached to a schedule, and they look forward to that. And when that person, maybe their kids got sick, or maybe they were held up in traffic, or whatever it is, we have the ability to bring somebody else in to help that client, even if it's me. Even if it's me to do that, I will do that, and I have done it. Christmas night, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be at a cook dinner, and I'm taking dinner over to the client's house because he's alone.
Are you really? Oh,
Right.
that is so sweet.
So
It makes
just
your
make sure
Christmas
he has a
nicer.
Christmas dinner and some time, and say hi to somebody. And being kind doesn't cost anything.
I just love the words of wisdom in your philosophy. That's what sets you apart, I think, from a lot of other home health companies. You are really, I call you really hands-on.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's great. I'm glad you moved down. And so you're from Chicago, but now you're a Floridian. And we
Yes,
certainly
I
hope
am.
that. Okay, well, I guess we've run out of time, but I sure do want to thank you, Greg, for taking your time on Christmas Eve and doing what you do and being who you are. That makes me very happy.
Thank you for taking time to interview me. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was wonderful, Greg.
Thank you.
So,
Well,
okay, goodbye and Merry Christmas,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, everybody. Bye.